Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone, for this special council meeting for December the 2nd. Okay, just want to quickly outline today we gather on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. We recognize our responsibility to serve as stewards for the land and honor the original caretakers who came before us. Our community is enriched by the enduring knowledge and deep-rooted traditions of the diverse First Nations and Métis and Inuit in Kitchener today. Just quickly want to make a note. We were made aware earlier this morning, and it's with sadness. And with a heavy heart that I share the news of the passing of Mayor Barry Brevenovich's beloved mother, Nada. On behalf of City of Kitchener, our council and staff, I extend our deepest condolences to the mayor, his family, and all who held Mrs. Brevenovich dear in their hearts. And many of us had the privilege of being able to know her on a personal level and know what an amazing human being she was. We affectionately know that Mayor Brevenovich's mother as Mama V. She was not only a cherished member of her family and community, but also someone who left an indelible mark on those who knew her. Her kindness, strength, and unwavering support shaped the values that Mayor Brevenovich embodies as our leader today. In his time of grief, we stand united with Barry and his family, offering our thoughts, prayers, and unwavering support. Let us also honor Mama V's legacy for carrying forward the values of compassion and community that she so clearly inspired in others, and especially Barry himself. I'm also saddened to share that another beloved councillor, a member of Team Kitchener, lost a family member this past week. On behalf of council and staff, I wish to express my condolences to Councillor Stephanie Stretch, who lost her brother, Jeff, last week. A life gone too soon. We know that Jeff Siebert was very proud of his sister who joined council this past January. As a city, we extend our arms in comfort, knowing that in unity, we will find strength. And before I end this condolence message, I really want to refer back to a very heartfelt, a meaningful message that was sent by Mary Barry to us in sharing the sad news. And he had a lot to say that was very reflective of his tremendous work on council, the collaborative team that this council and staff work with him. And he cherishes, and again, going back to the earlier message, that sense of compassion and kindness that was instilled in him by his mother. And he wrapped up that message by saying, and I'm just repeating, folks, we are all faced with many challenges, but I leave you with two thoughts. First, let's all do what we can to spread kindness in our community. And second, hug someone you love tonight, as we never know when it will be the last time we can do that. And all right, so we will move on. Actually, you know what? If you don't mind, I think let's take a minute of silence. I think that would be appropriate. Thank you, everyone. I'll come to item number 2, disclosures of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. The Mayor will request members of council declare all pecuniary interest in regarding matters listed on the agenda. And as we go, notes for the delegations who have registered for the meeting, this date. To all delegations, the city values and encourages participation and dialogue in a democratic process that occurs in council and committee meetings and through written submissions and process that occurs in written submissions and correspondence. It is important that these interactions remain respectful towards other members of public, staff, and council. In case where dialogue is not respectful or a delegate interrupts councillor, staff, or other delegations, makes derogatory statements about councillor, staff, or others that are disrespectful, or uses hate speech or language that is considered harmful or defamatory, the chair may interject and take necessary actions to maintain a respectful and inclusive environment for everyone, which could involve removal from the meeting. One last reminder, delegations are permitted to address council for a maximum of 5 minutes, which will be displayed on the screen in front of you. When there is 30 seconds remaining in your time, you will hear a small audio tone that will signal 30 seconds remaining. Please take that time to conclude your presentation, as there will be a second tone at the completion of your time, and the microphone will turn off shortly after the exceeded 5-minute mark. Lastly, please do not take offense if following your presentation there are no questions from council. This is council's time to really listen and reflect upon the opinions and ideas shared with us from our community members. There is a section for a region of Waterloo, all council meeting. I think that's a motion that mayor and members of council be authorized to participate on all council meetings on December 6th. At 2 p.m. to be held at Senator Square. Further notice of that meeting being published at www.regionofwaterloo.ca. I'll get a mover. Moved by Councillor Michaud, seconded by Councillor Chapman. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. And I will forego the mayor's business and updates. And for item 5.1, mayor's proposed 2025 budget. Oh, you had a pecuniary interest? Okay. Do you want to outline that now? Before? Okay, go ahead. Is it for budget or? It's for the other items in caucus. Okay, all right. Do you want to wait for that? I'm going to come back to, before we go into camera for caucus. Okay. Yeah, good afternoon, colleagues. As many of you are aware, and again, for my earlier notes, Mayor Veronicas is out of the office today due to bereavement in his family. He has asked Councillor Davey, as chair of our Finance and Corporate Services Committee, to speak today on his behalf with respect to the proposed 2025 budget that is included as item 5.1 on today's special council meeting agenda. Before turning the floor over to Councillor Davey, Mayor Vivanovic also asked me to thank both Chair Davey and Vice Chair Ioannidis and all members of council on their collaborative approach throughout the budget process, and especially during the last 2 weeks while he was dealing with his family matters, and also for working with staff and the community alike to present a budget that remains as affordable as possible while also meeting the needs of our community and its residents. I also note that there was a written submission received from Threshold Sports related to the 2025 budget that was circulated to the mayor and members of council. Okay, so we will please move on to Councillor Davey whenever you're ready.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. This will take a bit of time because we are going through the issues of the budget. So I have a bit of a document to read before me. So as Chair of Finance and Corporate Services Committee, it is my pleasure to table the 2025 budget on behalf of Mayor Vrbanovic. As Council is aware, for the public's benefit, I think it's important to provide some background on why, since 2024, the city's budget is now referred to as the Mayor's proposed budget. On July 1st, 2023, the province amended legislation to provide strong mayor powers to select municipalities in Ontario, including Kitchener. As part of that change, current legislation now requires that the mayor be the one to propose the municipal budget for the upcoming year. This change required the city to adapt to a slightly different budget process last year, and we have once again followed a similar process for this year's budget. When proposing the budget, both the mayor and myself as chair have endeavored to do so in a manner consistent with the collaborative approach that has existed between Kitchener Council and staff in our work over many years. Based on the direction that was provided earlier this year, city staff provided a draft budget informed by council and community priorities in alignment with the city's approved financial guidelines and policies. The draft 2025 budget was presented to council for consideration and discussion at budget committee meetings held on November 18th and again on the 25th. The 2025 draft budget that was prepared by staff and presented for council's consideration builds on the success of previous budgets by continuing to address the priorities that are important for Kitchener and its residents. From delivering the programs and services that residents and business rely on every day, to investments in infrastructure that help address the city's asset replacement and growth-related needs, to providing funding to implement the city's 2023 to 2026 strategic plan that will help shape Kitchener's future. The 2025 draft budget balances several priorities and continues the trend of delivering good value for Kitchener residents. In developing this proposed budget, Kitchener City Council and staff acknowledged the challenging economic environment that residents have faced over recent years, and we have endeavored to do our part to keep property taxes as low as possible without sacrificing service-related needs. A proposed tax increase of 3.9% as outlined in the budget maintains existing service levels for the approximately 50 core services the city provides, and still responds to growth-related pressures that come with welcoming new residents to Kitchener each year. It also ensures that Kitchener's average property tax increase over the 10 years remains below Ontario's inflation rate increases during that same time period. Kitchener has continued to grow over the past many years and is now home to over 300,000 residents. Even with the increased pressure of serving a larger population base, the city has been able to keep pace, carefully balancing increasing service needs while still proposing budget increases that we believe are reasonable. Kitchener's tax levy per capita is one of the lowest in the province when compared to other large municipalities in Ontario. It also has what's considered a low municipal burden, which combines both taxes and utility rates when comparing Kitchener to other municipalities. Although Kitchener only makes up 30% of the residential tax bill, and the region representing 57%, with the education taxes making up the remaining 13%, Kitchener has always demonstrated its commitment to considering affordability when setting its budget, consistently delivering tax rate increases that are aligned with the rate of inflation in Ontario. Kitchener's track record speaks for itself when it comes to balancing affordability, service demands, and responding to growth-related pressures. I'm proud of council and staff's approach to rate setting and believe Kitchener is a model of efficient, effective, and sustainable local government in Ontario. During the past 10 years, Kitchener's tax rate increases have averaged 2.47%, below Ontario inflation, which has averaged 2.64% during the same time frame. This should give residents confidence that they are getting good value for the programs and services that the city provides. Kitchener is also making important investments in infrastructure, recognizing the need to take care of the $10 billion worth of assets the city is responsible for, while also moving forward with new infrastructure that's needed to support housing and a growing community. The city's $1.9 billion capital budget identifies the infrastructure that is planned to be replaced over the next 10 years. Although the city's planned investment over 10 years is significant, it's important to reiterate that this is still not enough to address all of the city's infrastructure replacement needs, and we join in calls for a new fiscal arrangement for municipalities over the long term with both the provincial and federal orders of government to address this gap. Despite these challenges, the city has been proactive in trying to address infrastructure funding needs, including launching the Water Infrastructure Program, as we all know as WIP, in 2017 to fund replacement of underground infrastructure. By moving to a more predictable rate model, the city has been able to fund approximately $400 million in capital infrastructure replacement since the program was established, and we are currently in the second year of that council-approved WIP program. Annual funding for the rehabilitation of aging facility infrastructure has been increasing by approximately $5 million per year since 2019, and facilities continue to be a significant funding priority within the capital budget, with an additional $6 million added in funding in 2025. Allocating $1.4 million in 2025 to the city's energy retrofit reserve to replace components and facilities with smart, energy-efficient solutions is helping to move the city towards a more sustainable, low-carbon future while also providing operational savings over time. I just pause here for a second to note that we have been accomplishing all of this despite not introducing an infrastructure tax levy, which other municipalities have done, which simply adds in addition to the tax levy that increases each year. Besides the city's own efforts and strategies to try and address the capital funding needs, staff have also pursued federal and provincial grant opportunities, successfully securing over $200 million in federal and provincial funding over the past 5 years. It's important for the city to continue to be proactive in this space, ensuring that funding opportunities are fully explored, including continuing with advocacy efforts for additional infrastructure funding, since this represents the most significant funding challenge that municipalities face moving forward. In addition to the rehabilitation of existing infrastructure, the city also needs to provide new infrastructure to support a growing community. This infrastructure is funded through development charges and not through property taxes, maintaining the concept that growth should pay for growth. As the city continues to expand, particularly in the southwest area of the city, new amenities are needed to support the recreational needs. This includes $16 million for the construction of a new library branch in southwest Kitchener that will be fully operational in 2025. $6 million for the Rosenberg Community Center that will provide programming and space for the surrounding neighborhood. And last but not least, certainly the $144 million for the Kitchener Indoor Recreation Facility that will be located in Schlegel Park and will include an indoor pool, FIFA-sized local soccer facility, and provide other important gathering spaces for residents in the community. Finally, the city is in the second year of implementing its 2023 to 2026 strategic plan. The 2025 budget continues to build on investments made through last year's budget process, with funding allocated within budget to support actions identified under the 5 goal areas within the strategic plan, including building a connected city together, cultivating a green city together, creating an economically thriving city together, fostering a caring city together, and stewarding a best city together. The 2025 budget highlights approximately $75 million in funding that will help to advance strategic priorities. This includes $56 million in federal and provincial funding the city has received to advance the affordable housing initiatives. Some of the investments in other important areas include $8.6 million towards advancing actions in the City Parks Master Plan, including improvements being made at Upper Canada Park and McLennan Park. $1.3 million towards the implementation of the city's tree canopy plan, and $800,000 in green fleet improvements, including the replacement of 3 ice resurfacing machines to electric. $780,000 in operating and capital funding to support the activation of the Conrad Center, and $100,000 to increase spots in summer camps for youth. These examples and more build on progress made in the previous year, helping the city deliver on key priorities and commitments, including the 2023-2026 strategic plan. In addition to these investments, as part of the draft budget, there was $1 million in one-time capital funding unallocated and available to further advance strategic priorities that are important to the community. Overall, I support the draft budget that was prepared by staff and presented to council and proposed. Based on feedback received from council and the public, that the city also move forward with the following strategic investment related to the additional $1 million in one-time capital funding. $1 million for a community court investment program that will see 10 basketball or tennis/pickleball courts installed or rehabilitated in various wards across the city. This investment will see the installation of new courts in underserviced areas of the city or enhance the condition of existing courts, recognizing these types of recreational amenities serve as an important and free gathering space for residents of all ages in neighborhoods across Kitchener. In closing, the city's 20-year vision included in the city's 2023 to 2026 strategic plan is building a city for everyone, where together we take care of the world around us and each other. As speaking for the mayor, and today with myself and council, I'm pleased with where we have landed with the 2025 budget for the progressive actions that we continue to take as a city to move us closer to achieving that vision, and while still balancing affordability and operational service delivery needs. Okay, so just a couple other notes. After reviewing the proposed budget, if a member of council feels a need to put forward an amendment, formal amendments for consideration must be received by the clerk by December 9th and will be dealt with on December 12th. And that concludes my comments with respect to the proposed 2025 budget. But Mr. Chair, as well, just before we leave this, because there was the opportunity for the mayor to speak and he's not here, with respect to other pending budget needs, I would just like to raise the recently released potential changes to the regional budget that's coming forward. There are a number of proposed cuts, and although I would characterize some of them as potential downloading versus cuts, but the ones that are most relevant to the level of government that we represent, there was 3 real items. In order, I would say, well, actually, they're all fairly important, but beginning to charge rent for the training facility that our emergency services use, which I believe we actually invested some capital in that project, but that remains to be seen where regional council goes with that. They're also proposing, we had some discussion about this in the past, but they're proposing the removal of all garbage cans at transit stops, which, again, we've spoken about in the past. And finally, and perhaps most concerning to us, is there's a suggestion of the cessation of downtown garbage collection, which the region does, and I believe it's completely unclear in terms of what they hope to propose that, to replace that with, other than effectively downloading that to the lower tier municipal government. So I raised that, Mr. Chair, because we haven't really seen much exposure of this in the media, probably because it was released so recently and so close to their final budget. But I would advise and encourage members of the community to engage with regional council on these proposed items. There is a public input session meeting tomorrow at regional council, and you can register for that through the region's website at www.regionofwaterloo.ca. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Davey. I think those last points that you made in reference to some of the proposed changes in the region's 2025 budget is very poignant because, again, as you noted out, tremendous amount of service delivery and improvement of access to our residents by this council and our staff. There is a clear contrast of the challenges that the region is facing. And sadly, some of those changes that are being proposed are sometimes going to be confusedly looked upon as perhaps, maybe it's a change that the city of Kitchener has done, which is not the case. And I think better understanding in the public and communication is needed. And additionally, it's, as you said, downloading of costs and services, which we don't have the same tax base. And I think there's some sense of unfairness in that regard. So as you have said, I encourage also members of the community and even members of this council to communicate effectively and advocate with the respective regional councillors and regional staff on input. Councillor Ioannidis on this?
Thanks, Acting Mayor Singh. I guess I just wondering where I should have this lay in after looking through the budget, I do realize I have a pecuniary interest on one of the items on this in here. So I'm just wondering, do I declare that?
No, at this point, it was just essentially table. It is the mayor's budget. It's not council that's approving the budget. It's the mayor that outlines what the budget is. It's within the strong mayor powers. So that's something you can inquire a little further with staff when this does come back. For the time being, I don't think that's necessary. But I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, like I mean, we can veto it. So I mean, I think there is some skin in the game by us. But anyways, I'll wait till the final.
And I think that conflict would really be there if there is a motion to veto. And at that point, if there's a conflict, it would be necessary for you and any other members of council to outline any conflicts that exist within the budget, if there is a opportunity or some want by a member of council to veto the budget.
Okay.
Mr. Hagee, do you want to add some input?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. So council cannot veto, the council can amend. Mm-hmm. So formal amendments would need to be put forward to change the proposed budget. The mayor could then veto amendments made by any councillor. And then council could potentially overturn the mayor's veto if that were to happen. So there's a bit of a process. But
That's what I meant. We can overturn. We can overturn.
So again, just for the clarity for the public or anyone else watching, it's not necessarily overturn. It could be an amendment to the proposed budget by the mayor. So there is a necessity to vote on the proposed budget only on an amendment. So when an amendment is put forward, and at that point, a conflict would have to be noted. So I agree at that point. Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, so we talk about amendments. Is there an opportunity for issue papers before we get to the actual amendments?
I think you have, I've looked to staff a little bit, I think you have opportunity to inquire with staff for more details, but I don't know if that's the opportunity of today to put forward those amendments, and I think a notice would have had to been given as well
But
related
it's not
to,
an amendment as such, it's
not amendment
asking for
or
more
issue
information.
paper, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's a direction to staff, so any direction staff would have required a notice, a motion. Mr. Chapman?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there is no mechanism to prepare and bring issue papers back to council at this point in time. That said, if a member of council was contemplating an amendment and wanted additional information, you could reach out to staff. Staff could provide that information to the member of council, and if it was relevant to all members of council or there was an amendment coming forward, we'd share it with all members.
that's fine, thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. In that case, then we will move on to in-camera meeting authorization. Councilor Ioannidis? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a pecuniary interest on item 6.1
Okay,
due to my employment.
all right. And related to that, that has been noted, and when it comes back, if there's any ratification, just please do so again. For the in-camera meeting, can I get a mover? Councillor O'Dooney, seconded by Councillor Schneider. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much. So we will recess the meeting as we will come back. So do I need a motion to recess the meeting, or? Oh, yes, I had my conflict from an earlier date where I wasn't present to declare in a public meeting, which is related to the November 18th caucus item, and that was for 2.2, as again, family members own real estate close to that discussed item. So I had recused myself from that discussion. Okay, all right, meeting recessed, and we'll convene in caucus and then come back again.